Hey, thanks for tuning into the Cocktails with Jim podcast. I'm here with Joe Agnew once again. Hey, congratulations on being the first repeat guest on the show.
It's a real honor, Jim.
Oh, hey, thanks, man. Pleasure's all mine. Hey, this is a topic that I think about quite a bit, and I'm looking forward to discussing this with you. So I texted Joe and I said, come up with your top five moments in songs. It can be a lyric, instrumental thing, drum fill, solo, no parameters. And I had a lot of fun getting my list together, but I could probably name about 100, so it was tough for me to
Well,
kind of whip.
I was gonna say, Jim, before you get into your list, like we could do this 5 different times and have completely different lists every time. I have no problem figuring out many different versions of this. It's almost unfair to force five in.
Well, I try to think about ones from albums that we didn't talk about last time, but that was also difficult. So, all right, without any further introduction, I told Joe I'd go first because he went last time. My first one is Laurentian Ghosts by After the Burial, which is on the Dig Deep album. And so you have to understand the circumstances surrounding this tune. I don't want to speak too much about the situation just out of respect, and I don't 100% have all of my facts straight. But After the Burial is a band from Minneapolis, and their guitar player, Justin Lowe, tragically passed away a few years ago. And this album, I believe, was released after his death. If you go on YouTube, he has a demo reel, and there's this really pretty acoustic guitar introduction thing with all this reverb and stuff going on, and that's the introduction to Laurentian Ghost. So they used his demo reel for this particular tune, so I believe it serves as a bit of a tribute to him. Okay, so first things first, After the Burial, as you can imagine, is a really heavy band. So if you're gonna check this piece out, just be prepared because you have to be ready for this type of music if you're gonna listen to it. And if you get reading about his passing, just beware that that's pretty heavy material as well. So anyway, in this tune, it starts off with this pretty guitar thing, and then about midway through, all of a sudden the rap horn goes off. Are you familiar with the sound effect that I'm talking about? Like the big
No.
if you Google MLG rap horn, it's this
Okay.
big, it's like a siren sounding thing, and I think it's like used for comedic value or something like that. So this super loud horn goes off, and then the metal breakdown that follows is so heavy. It's like drinking a glass of orange juice after you brush your teeth, and then somebody punches you in the face. It's awesome, and I don't know what the significance of the rap horn is, if that was some kind of inside joke, but it is hilarious and it's awesome. So that's my first one, Laurentian Ghosts by After the Burial, the rap horn before the breakdown. It rules. You'll know the sound effect as soon as you listen to it. You'll be like, oh yeah, I just didn't know the title of it.
Yeah, I probably just didn't know what it was called. I'll
Yep.
check it out
Yeah, you'll
after
know it.
this. Um, that's a deep cut that a lot of people won't know. I'm gonna go with something quite a bit more traditional to start off. So the first song I picked was Queen's "Somebody to Love," which is a kind of a classic song, and there's probably 10 or 15 different moments in that song that people could name. For whatever reason, my kids have gotten really into Queen lately. I mean, obviously, I was part of that reason, but
Yeah.
they've gotten really into some of the songs on there, and that's one of the ones that they like to listen to. And my oldest daughter will sing along with it, which is fun. My
Hmm.
personal favorite moment in that song, though, the one that like well, I'm always kind of waiting for and building towards for the blow up is they do the first two verses, and then the hooks, and then there's like a mid-song guitar solo, and then coming out of that, Freddie Mercury belts out, can anybody find me somebody to love? And he just blasts it out. It's probably my favorite version of that lyric in the whole song. There's 10 different versions of it. But that one is like the one that's the most powerful, the most like blasted out there without being forced or falsetto or anything like that throughout the rest of them. That's the first one I picked. That hook right after the first guitar solo was just a punch-in moment for me
I'll go
vocally.
ahead and say that Freddie Mercury is the best frontman in rock and roll.
I mean, undeniably, undeniably. I think what's fun, not to get off on too much of a tangent, but the movie Bohemian Rhapsody obviously recreates the concert at Wembley Stadium, and I saw that. I'd never seen the actual concert, but I went back and watched the actual concert, and it's so incredible to me that they did an amazing job in that in the movie, but it's basically shot for shot the actual concert, sound running across the stage, everything that he does, even the way he talks instead of sings certain parts of "We Are the Champions" during that is just, I can't believe how incredible of a performer he was.
Absolutely. Have you seen footage from the Live Aid concert that they did?
That's the one I'm talking about, the Live Aid
Oh,
concert.
okay. I
Yeah.
unfortunately I haven't seen that movie yet. I've been told by a number of people I should check it out, but I haven't watched it
Well,
yet.
here's the thing: if you've seen the Live Aid or footage from the Live Aid, they recreate a bunch of that during the movie, so
Okay,
you get to you kind of already know what you're walking into, just with production value up front instead from a distance and all that.
awesome. Okay, song number two, another heavy one here. Motion City soundtrack. The tune is "It Had to Be You" from the Even If It Kills Me album. Motion City soundtrack, another Minneapolis band. One of my roommates in
Vocal.
college, yeah, one of my roommates in college turned me on to Motion City. I've seen them live a couple times. This tune, I'm not entirely sure what it's about. I don't know that it matters. Maybe it's a relationship or something like that. But the last time I saw Motion City soundtrack live, it was their So Long farewell tour, and now they've come back and whatever. So the lead singer Justin was talking about this song, and he said that he envisioned doing it as a duet with Regina Spektor, but it never panned out.
That would be a cool matchup.
Yeah, absolutely. So the bridge of the song, okay, the lyrics, it seemed like a dream, one beautiful scream that echoed forever and made us not afraid to feel a thing. And after it ends, we'll try to be friends. They say that what doesn't kill us makes us who we are. During that, so those lyrics are cool, I think. During that part, you have the synthesizer going, which they have a keyboardist and a synth player, and so that's going, and then you have like the gang vocals doing this like part, and then it ends with just like a xylophone. And I don't know, there's something about that moment in that song where that is just, it's such a cool moment. I don't know how to describe it. You have to check it out. Another interesting fact, when I know you and I have discussed this, but I got in a rollover car accident in 2008. I was going back to college from my parents' house. There was no alcohol involved or anything like that. I simply hit a patch of black ice on 35W south of Pilot Knob Road,
I
rolled
remember
over
that.
twice. Yeah, rolled over twice in the ditch. Very scary. If I didn't have a seatbelt on, I most likely would not be talking to you today. But I'm fairly confident that album was playing during that accident. I don't know what tune was playing, but so not only is it a great song and I love Motion City, but you have that line, they say that what doesn't kill us makes us who we are, which for me brings a different level of significance based on that event in my life. So wear your seatbelts, kids, always. Even if you're driving in town a couple blocks away, put your belts on. All right, you're up.
I'm gonna stay traditional here for a minute. Third Eye Blind, Semi-Charmed Life.
Ooh,
Obviously a song that everybody knows. The sort of embarrassing backstory here is I think before college, I only heard Semi-Charmed Life on the radio.
yeah.
I so all I ever heard was a radio edit. I did not know there was a non-radio edit version of
I
Semi-Charmed. I mean
I know the part you're talking about. That's not on the radio. I can
yeah,
hear it.
the like obviously the song's about drugs. It's pretty heavy. It's pretty obvious. They're not really that subtle even on the radio edit. But the part that for me is a top moment, and I don't know if it's because of novelty or because it is genuinely a great moment. Certainly there's a bit of both with it for me, but it is the non-radio edit verse that they cut completely out of it. There's the it's a great vocal. I don't know why they cut. I still don't understand why it's cut out. It's only a 4.5 minute song with
Maybe
the
it's
extra
simply just
version.
a length thing because maybe the tunes on the radio at that time
Maybe
grabbed your
back then
attention if they're
4.5
shorter.
was too long. I feel like these days 4.5 is not that crazy for a radio track anymore.
I
But
agree. I also haven't listened to the radio since about, I don't know, shoot, like, I just don't do it anymore.
yeah, yeah. Anyway, the verse that gets cut out of the radio, that's my favorite. My favorite part of that song is a top song moment for me is just that entire verse is fantastic. I particularly like when he hits the high note near the end of it. You kind of it's I mean, song's basically about math. It's almost like a moment where the high kicks in again all of a sudden. You think he's about to come down and he blasts it out forward with more sound. I love that moment. Love that moment every single
Yeah,
time.
that song is so funny because it's like, I don't know how to say this in a nice way, but it's almost like they tricked people into playing it's super catchy.
Yeah.
But if you sit down and look at the lyrics, it's like, yeah, this is totally about drug addiction
Drugs
and
and
meth
sex.
and
Yeah.
yeah, and but it's so catchy and it's so poppy and it's so fun. So there's that juxtaposition going on. But yeah, hey, that's an awesome pick.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna go with another deep cut here. I love a good cover, and so my next one is the song called "Me" by the band The 1979, and Spencer Sotelo from Periphery, who is one of my favorite vocalists ever. I love Periphery. I love Spencer. Everything he's done. Can't say enough good things. So him, Taylor Larson, who is a producer, and this guy Luke Holland, who has a YouTube channel. He's a drummer, absolutely insane drummer. And this other cat named Elijah Trey did a cover of Me by the 1975. The first time I heard this tune was the cover. I'm not a 1975 fan, and I'm sure I'm gonna maybe bug some people that see this, but I actually don't like the original version of the tune. I've listened to it and I don't care for it. But in this particular track, uh, I think you have to watch the video of it because it's not on an album or anything like that. And just fair warning, if you do check this tune out, there are themes of suicidal ideation, and it's a real downer of a track. So you kind of have to be in the right frame of mind to listen to it. But the whole track builds and builds and builds and builds, and then Spencer hits a D5, which is an insanely high note. He's just singing like ah, and then this Elijah Trey comes in with the line, "I put your mother through hell, don't you mind?" And I just get goosebumps thinking about it. You have to watch the video, and the whole build to it is so incredible. It's an awesome video. The production is awesome. It's just they're just in the studio doing it. But that is such a great track. And again, Periphery and Spencer Sotelo could put out a polka album, and I would love it. So I'm biased, but that's such a cool moment, I think.
There are a couple different songs out there like that where I think the cover is either better known or better than the original. There are
I,
a
I
few
would
that way.
agree. I
And
would
some
agree.
like that I think would be controversial. Another one that comes to mind that I know would be a controversial pick, speaking of Freddie Mercury, is I like the used in My Chemical Romance's collaboration Under Pressure better than the original.
Yeah, I do like that cover too. I know you and we both were down with the used, and
Yeah.
the that was such a cool album in high school, and Love and Death,
Yeah,
whatever year that came out. But yeah, that is an awesome cover. I am not gonna say that it's better than the original because you have to understand the circumstances going on at the time and the
for
subject
sure.
matter, but it is good. It's definitely good. And there's live footage of them performing that too, which is also really cool.
Oh, nice. So for my third pick, I'll start going to the deep cut space. Our dear friend's Yellow Card.
Oh
Uh,
boy.
yeah, off of Lights and Sounds. So there's a couple songs I love on that album, but I'm gonna pick Words, Hands, Hearts as the one that's got my moment that I really like.
Awesome.
It's a lyric in this case, so the whole song is kind of about how the world has changed and their interpretation of the change of the world over the last pretty much since between Ocean Avenue and Lights and Sounds is my interpretation. There's a lot of stuff that happens between those two albums.
Lights and Sounds right after Ocean Avenue.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, like in Ocean Avenue, they've got the I forget what the 9/11 song is called, but there's like a patriotic element to Ocean's Avenue. And in
Believe.
Believe, thank you. And then it turns by the time they get to Lights and Sounds. And there's a couple tracks on Lights and Sounds where they're frustrated with the state of the world. And this is one of those songs where they're not, it's not so political, but it's more of like a, it's almost like a can't we all get along vibe associated with it. But anyway, the lyric that I like in that song, um, they do it twice in it. They do it soft and then they do it real loud at the end. They do it softer in the bridge. And it's do we dare now raise our voices loud. And then I like the second version, the loud version the best. We're searching for something that cannot be found. And it's the way they use that lyric to move to the end of the song is fun. There's like the soft middle bridge where they sort of quietly sing it, and then it's a blast near the end after their final chorus. And I love that. I love that lyric, and I love the way they present that lyric in the song. And it ties the whole thing together really well, I think.
Oh, you're not going to believe this, but my next pick is Yellow Card Believe, and I'm going to hold up my sheet of paper here so you can, right
I
there.
I knew you were taking something off Ocean's Avenue. I wasn't sure which track it was going to be.
So one of those tunes that the best off, well, maybe not off, I don't know. What a great song, Believe. It's a 9/11 tribute. And the part that I picked off of that tune is in the middle. So Michael Bloomberg was the mayor of New York City on 9/11, right?
No, Rudy Giuliani.
Was okay, so Bloomberg must have spoke the year after at the memorial. Does that sound
The
right?
the track, I don't know, maybe.
Okay, I'm pretty sure I checked this beforehand. I don't know what I thought Bloomberg was the mayor the year after when they did the
Oh, it
anniversary
might have
part.
been for the 1 year. It might have been the 1 year after. I know Giuliani was the mayor on 9/11.
Okay, I'm sorry. Um anyway, so they takes a snippet from Bloomberg's speech on the 1 year anniversary of the event and it reads, again today we take into our hearts and minds those who perished on this site 1 year ago, and also those who came to toil in the rubble to bring order out of chaos, to help us make sense of our despair. And then right after that, the lead singer comes in with, want to hold my wife when I get home, want to tell the kids they'll never know how much I love to see them smile. And that just makes me so sad. And especially, it's one of those things that you view differently that you have kids. Like, have you ever had moments like that where you watch movies and things when you were younger and then you view it in a completely different lens when you have kids?
Dude, I see a lot of movies these days. Not even stuff I watched when I was younger. Like anytime a kid gets hurt in a movie or a parent is tragically hurt or killed, like Disney movies are dramatically more
Yep.
traumatic now as an adult than they ever were as a kid with the context.
I was in a hotel room about a month ago watching Forrest Gump on TV, and I just like I started tearing up during that one too. And it's just, yeah, things just hit you a little bit differently. But yeah, that's my next pick. You'll have to fact check me on the Bloomberg thing, but I'm pretty sure it's his words in the middle of that piece on the 1 year anniversary of 9/11.
I think it's Bush. We'll have to check that out.
Okay.
Uh,
Well, yeah, we'll check into it. I apologize. I didn't mean to say anything wrong for I don't
oh,
want to take away from any of the 9/11 stuff, but
oh,
I
I don't think.
think, yeah, we'll
No,
check it
no one
out.
to work up about it. I know exactly the lyric you're talking about though, and that is my favorite moment in that song, coming off that sort of speech bridge, and they come blasting back in, want to hold my wife and not get home.
Yeah,
Yeah, I love
it's
that moment in that
it's
song.
so powerful. And that album is good. That album is so good. You could pick any track off that album and we could do a whole we could
Yeah,
talk about Ocean Avenue for hours, but
indeed.
that was my number four. What do you got?
Ah, deciding which one of these to do here. I think I'm gonna do my girl Sarah. So Sarah Bareilles.
Yeah.
It's again, I could pick a different Sarah Bareilles song for a list like this for 10 straight podcasts, probably. This one I'm going to start. I'm going to use She Used to Be Mine off of the Waitress soundtrack. So she wrote the music for the Waitress musical on Broadway. And then she released an album where she performs not every song on the show, but most of the songs in the show. And She Used to Be Mine was like the big ballad in the show. You probably haven't heard it. It did get some radio play. I actually heard her perform it live before the show hit Broadway and before the album was out. I heard her perform it live in Boston. I didn't really appreciate it at the time. I was waiting for something to happen. But the album version that she records is incredible. And I mentioned this in the last show we recorded. I love build-ups. And so this whole song is a slow build-up. They add instruments slowly. It's kind of this big moment. And then the moment in particular that I love is I even wrote the time down in this case. It's 3:08 to 3:30 in the song. It's the last moment, it's the last time when she belts out She Used to Be Mine. And it's one of those big sort of pop ballad moments where she blasts the note out, holds it real long, steps back, takes a breath, and does it one more time, big and long, and then it drops down into a coda for the end of the song. And it's such a it stands alone, but it's even more incredible when you let the whole song build to that moment. And it's like you feel like you're waiting for relief, and then it bam hits you there. And she's such an incredible vocalist, and I love moments like that where she blasts notes out like that. It's just so good.
Nice. Do you have any honorable mentions?
Like a half a dozen. Yeah, I won't do them all.
I'll give you my honorable mention first before I do my last one, and then
Sure.
maybe you can do the same. Okay. So honorable mention is the early November, the mountain range in my living room off The Room's Too Cold, which is another one of my all-time favorite records. I just
Yep.
finally had the opportunity to buy it on vinyl. And there's that part in the middle where there's all that spoken word stuff where there's like the different people talking, and I don't know what the point of it is, but once I read that it has to do with like the loss of innocence, and then the mountain range in my living room refers to like the problems that were sweeping under the rug that slowly get bigger. So that part in the middle where there's the spoken dialogue would be my honorable mention. And then I'll pick my number five is the song Adelaide by Anne Lynn off the Cities record. Anne Lynn was a college band for me. I heard them, must have been my sophomore year of college. Yeah, sophomore year of college. I remember
Yep.
I was living in Stadium Apartments right by the music department. Rest in peace. They leveled Stadium Apartments now. It doesn't even
Oh,
exist,
no
but
kidding.
but so I was in pep band in college, and there I played drum kit for pep band, and one of the upperclassmen, we used his kit, and so we all helped to like load it up, and we always hit Taco John's. And then we went to the game and we sort of did our own thing as us drummers. And I discovered Anne Lynn thanks to him. I guess you could maybe consider Anne Lynn a Christian rock band, but it's not, to me, it's not overly forced. So you can view their lyrics in that lens,
They're
or
not jamming it down your throat.
no, I don't think so. You can view their lyrics in that lens if you want, or you don't have to. So anyway, the bridge in Adelaide, the lyrics, lipstick traces on pillowcases, some things in life are unforgettable, like love, lust, lies, and us. Some things in life are undeniable. And it cuts out into this big synthesizer part, and then the chorus bangs in again. And it's such a fun track. And yeah, that's my list, man. That was hard to come up with. I struggled, and I
I
didn't
love
lose
it.
sleep over
And you
this,
could
but
probably do 10 more of those with 100 different songs.
easy. Okay, give me an honorable mention and a number five.
I'm gonna do two honorable mentions just because you said the one, and I'll show mine as well. I have early November on my honorable mention list as well with Ever So Sweet. Uh,
Oh man, what a good tune.
of course, it's the last bring in with the chorus. That's what I'm liking there. It's the sort of we do a soft one, we do a solid one, and then we do a quiet build, and we bam, Ever So Sweet right at the end. The big hit. I love that moment in that song. Came to mind. Didn't make
God,
my final list, but it was on my lower downs. I had to mention that since you mentioned them.
gotta love
And
the
I'll
early
do a-
November.
yeah, early November was great. And I'll do another kind of one you probably haven't heard, a deeper cut. One Republic's Waking Up off of Waking Up. Uh,
Mm,
it's like a two-part song. First part's lyrics, second part's entirely instrumental, and it's the instrumental part I like. And this is another one of those the instrumental kind of builds up. And a lot of times I like the build up and explosion, but in this one I like the coda. They drop back down to just piano notes at the very end, kind of revisiting a few of the themes. And it's a song that I discovered randomly listening to that album a bunch of times, just driving around after college. And for some reason that instrumental always sticks. It's one of those songs I come back to just to get to that moment with
mm.
frequency. But my last pick for tonight anyway is going to be My Chemical Romance off of the album The Black Parade. Um, but a deeper cut in it, Famous Last Words.
Oh
So
yeah.
I think the last real track on that album, there's a hidden track afterwards called Blood, but the last real track is Famous Last Words. And it's a lyric. That's Famous Last Words is one of those songs that by the time it's done, I'm hoarse because I can't help but in my own silly, improper way, try and belt it out along with it.
If you're singing along with the radio, you always sound good, so it doesn't
Oh,
matter.
there you go. There you go. The thing I like about, I mean, that whole album is a concept album about death. It's not, again, not a very subtle concept album. It's sort of clear what's going on. I think my interpretation of Famous Last Words is different probably than their intention. I hear that song and I hear two lovers that are basically having a final fight before one of them dies. Like one of them's on their deathbed, the other one is there, and one is choosing life and one is choosing death. That's the way that's not that the other one has a choice, but that's the way I kind of interpret it. And so the hook I think makes way more sense at the end. The chorus makes way more sense at the end after you've heard them bickering a little bit throughout. And so I hear the final lyric, I am not afraid to keep on living. I'm not afraid to walk this world alone. I hear that as I hear that as the person who's going to live, talking to the other one because they're mad at him. They're pissed that they've just been wallowing in this death for the entirety of the album that's consumed what was left of their life. And then the other one says, honey, if you stay, I'll be forgiven. And then the first person says, nothing you can say can stop me going home. Like, and I don't know if that's how the band would think of it, but that's always how I hear that. I hear
It
it as
doesn't
this
matter.
conversation between these two. It's really
Yeah.
dark to think of it that way, but it's also really powerful. And
Yeah.
that's a lyric set that I come back to over and over again. I love that the way that builds up, the way it blasts every time during that song. That's
What's some part in that song where he says like keep you lying next to me or
right
whatever?
before that.
That's
It's the
interjected with the I am not afraid to keep on living part,
so it's
right?
the final vocal bridge. I'll see you lying next to me. Um, awake and unafraid, asleep or dead. And I kind of think of that as the person who's living as well. But yeah, they start singing that, and then they're kind of shouting, blasting it at the end. And then you're right, they say that like three or four times, and then they go into the final chorus one more time.
Somebody I love that album too, by the way.
It's really
Awesome.
good. There's
We
a
both
there's a I was talking to my sister about this last weekend when she was over. There's a meme going around TikTok right now, which I am not on TikTok, and I
no,
know not about it.
I'm too old for that.
But it's like show what generation you're from with one note, and then someone hits
The G. It's a
the
G.
G from Welcome to the Black
Yep.
Parade, and
Yep.
that is a trigger moment. Everyone knows exactly what song is being
Yep.
played, just that one note.
Yeah, I want to give it something that doesn't get talked about on that record is the drummer. His name is Bob Breyer, and I don't think he was in the band after that album, but there are some really tasty drum parts and drum fills specifically in Welcome to the Black Parade. So yeah, shout out to that guy, man. And that doesn't get talked about too often, but that drummer is awesome.
Yes, I agree.
Hey, this was fun. Like I said, this is a topic that I think about quite a bit, and I could easily come up with a list of 100 of these. So as you said, to whittle it down to five was taxing, but
Yeah,
we
I mean,
did
I
it.
literally made a list of 25 songs before this, and then had to try and trim it from there.
You had a. I'm gonna go one more. I took a peek at your notebook paper. You had Deftones on there. What I'll give you. I had a Deftones one too. What was yours?
Mine was Minerva.
What
Um,
part?
and specifically Minerva, I like the very beginning. I like the soft start and then the heavy flow and sort of the steady heavy flow that you get for the rest of the song. I like that initial transition.
I thought of two Deftones ones that I chopped, which I kind of feel bad about because I love Deftones and they're one of the few bands that I've paid attention to. Well, the first album came out when we were really young, but I got on board with White Pony.
Yeah.
And I have all their records anyway. But there are two Deftones ones for me. The first is in Digital Bath. The whole like I breathed and dried you off, and then so if you're familiar, like you picture a guitar, right? It's got like the headstock, the tuning pegs, and then there's what's called the nut before you get to the strings and the frets. He takes his
Yeah.
pick and just hits above the nut, and it's like the shower coming on.
Oh, is that what generates that sound? I thought that was some
Yep.
kind of digital effect.
No, you know what I'm because I've seen him do it live and I've read about it. But yeah, it's you picture what I'm talking about, right? You got
Yeah,
the
yeah,
pegs, and then if you were to pick right above there, the string tension is so tight. And of course, there's like heavy distortion on the amps and things like that. But yes,
right.
that's what does that when it sounds like the water coming back on.
I had no idea that was, I assumed that was some kind of digital edited effect on production. I had no idea that was a guitar.
Nope, it's a pick above the nut, heavy distortion, and it
That's really
sounds it
cool.
sounds just like a shower turning on full bore, which is cool. And then another moment, speaking of kind of sound effect things, Be Quiet and Drive in the beginning, he does that little like nervous, whispery breath before the guitar part comes in. I think that
Yep.
part's cool for I don't know if that was an accident or it was on purpose, but that's a really cool little thing. And that song rocks too, man. So does that whole album.
Man, could spend a lot of time just talking about Deftones albums.
Oh, yes. Hey, thanks for doing this, man. Really appreciate it. This has been a lot of fun.
It's a pleasure, man.
Have a good rest of your evening, and we'll talk again sometime soon.
Talk to you soon.
Yeah, buddy.